A very good afternoon and welcome back to the Rennsteig Arena here in Oberhof. We've got one more race to go today, the men's 4x7.5. And if it's anything like the women's relay from earlier on, the crowd are in for an absolute treat. And there are thousands upon thousands here today, over 25,000 recorded coming in. I suspect a few have sneaked through the woods somewhere because the track's surrounded by fans and a very, very impressive atmosphere being generated. So, 2 relays already this year, and in terms of the relay standings, Norway are on top, having won both. France in second place with a second and a third. Germany in third with an 8th and a second. And then Italy, who finished third in Östersund at the start of the season, 8th in Hogfilsen. They lie in 4th position in the standings. Ahead of Russia, ahead of Sweden, of course, the Olympic champions, and ahead of teams like the Czech Republic and Ukraine. So Norway are, I guess, the favourites, but they have put in essentially a B team. The Burr brothers are out, and Johannes Tingis, as I'm sure you know, he's stayed at home in Norway. His wife due any moment now, so he wants to be around for that. And his older brother racing in the sprint yesterday, but deciding he needs a rest before, and I hope he'll be in action for the mass start tomorrow. Italy with Hofer and Vindish as their 2 main players in the relay. Hofer actually not racing today, which is surprising. Bormolini, Zini and Chanal. So a significantly weakened Italian team. Russia with Khalili on leg 1, Koranichev, Elisiev and Latipov bringing up the rear for the Russians. A team that won here last year. Norway's team from Hogfilsen that won. Johannes Daly stays in the team, as does Erlend Bjontegard. With the 2 Burr brothers out, they've brought in Birkeland and Christiansen. So it's still a mightily impressive team. I think if they survive the first leg, Birkeland hasn't been on the best form so far this year. He finished 66th yesterday, missing 4 in the prone. That's an absolute disaster, but Oberhof can be difficult, and to be honest, I don't know whether he had very tricky wind conditions when he came through, but his coach will want to see better than that. The majority of the fans here to see Germany in action. Philip Horn, Johannes Kern, Arndt Pfeiffer, and Benedikt Dull bringing up the anchor leg. It's a pretty strong team. It should give the Norwegian team a run for their money, but France, outstanding. They have, in terms of World Cup positions, number 3, number 4, number 6 and number 7. No one else has got anyone better than that, because Burr brothers are 1 and 2 in the World Cup standing. So 3, 4, 6 and 7 for the French. Without logging off in the Russian team, it should be a formality for the French, but a relay is never a formality. There's always the question of nerves to be dealt with, and should one of your runners make a mistake, then the rest have to chase the game, and that is not easy in this sport. We saw it a number of times in the women's relay earlier on today. Well, here's one of the fastest parts of the course. Let's have another look at it. Drop down out of the range, and then significant climb. That little loop, that's where the technical section is. Again, a climb up, and then a shortened climb into the range. Of course, the lap at 2.75 kilometers. They're getting used to it. Had to race it yesterday, and there is talk that tomorrow they'll use the 2.5 again for the mass start, where they usually use a 3-kilometer loop to make up the 15, but they will do a double loop at some stage in the race. Well, here are the teams. Norway ranked #1, and their number relating to their ranking based on the 2 relays this year. It's got nothing to do with the World Championships or the Olympics. The defending champions from Oberhof are Russia, and they won with Svetkov, Granichev, Malishko and Loginov. So Granichev, the only survivor from that quartet. Mario Dolder leading the way out into the start area, racing for Switzerland, who so nearly pulled off a big surprise earlier on today in the women's relay, but it all went wrong at the end of leg 3 for them. Big moment for Philipp Horn of Germany. Actually, he did pretty well in the sprint yesterday, so I hope his confidence is high. Finished 13th. So there are the home team, and you can guarantee a phenomenal reception for them when they come in to shoot every single time. This is the team to beat. Jacqueline, Foucault, Dessieux, Fillon-Maillet, all skiing considerably better than last year, and Martin Foucault skiing considerably better than he was prior to the Christmas break. Norway, 2 wins out of 2 so far this season. Can they match their women and make it 3 out of 3? It's going to be a tough job without Johannes Tingis on that last loop. It will come down to the shooting. So 26 teams in all. Kazakhstan, Korea, Belgium, 24, 5, 6 on the back row. Well, they're not held on the line for long. We're underway, the 3rd relay of the season, and an opportunity for each and every one of the team members to stake a claim for their position in the World Championship relay team. World Championships, as I'm sure you know, in Antolz this year, and it's always a fantastic occasion, and 99% of the time the conditions are incredible. The racing there starts on the 13th of next month and runs for 10 days, so we finish on Sunday the 23rd. If you've got a chance of getting down, well worth it. It's great spectacle, great atmosphere, and you'll come back with a suntan as well. So a pretty stiff pace in the opening stages. Well, that's quite punishing. Each loop 2.5 kilometers. Canadian Jules Bernot's feeling it's a little bit too warm for the full ski suit. Well, no major developments in the early stages. It's quite a narrow track for too much overtaking, requires too much effort. Emilien Jacquelin, one of the stars of the season, certainly emerged as a contender for the overall crown this year. 2nd yesterday in the sprint race, just beaten by his teammate Martin Foucault, so a 1-2 for the French. They've had a 1, 2 and 3 this season already, so they are having a tremendous season. And of course, much of their success put down to the work of Vincent Vito, who is the head coach for the men's team. And of course, Stéphane Boutiot, who is the overall coach or manager of the French team. So they've definitely got something right this year, and they lead the way at the moment, ahead of Germany. Now, Germany should know these corners better than anyone else, and that's very well negotiated by Philipp Horn. Starts wide, cuts the apex tight, and just keeps the little steps going. Well, the tracks seem to be a little easier to negotiate than yesterday. Working hard, breaking up the icy patches last night. They had a centimetre, maybe 2 centimetres of fresh snow overnight. Much of that has either blown away or drifted into the woods. But really the key was the lower temperatures. So France, Germany, Norway, the leading 3 at the moment. Jacquelin looks very, very composed. Just a little look over his shoulder to see who's making all the noise. Sweden go through wearing number 7, just ahead of the Swiss 12. Mario Dolder for the Swiss. Sean Doherty taking the Americans' first leg. Be interesting to see how he gets on. Czech Republic, who've had a fair amount of success, 4th in the World Championships. They've put their veteran, Mickey Schlesinger, on the first leg. Great to see him still in action. He was a big player back in 2007. Maybe he's firing himself up for another medal-winning performance at the World Championships in Antolz, where he took one back in 2007. Philip Horn first through the 2-kilometre marker. 500 metres to go before the first shoot. .26, that's Lapshin of Korea. He's done pretty well to work his way through. I'm not sure we'll get the Korean target on the caption when it comes to that first shoot, but we'll keep an eye on it. I suspect that Lapshin's had to work pretty hard to get up with that lead group. Just see Sean Doherty for USA at the back of the initial phase. Glide doesn't look to be quite as good. 11, Belarus with Anton Smolsky. Norway very much in the picture. No rush to get to the front from Lars Hegler Birkeland. Not surprised after his performance yesterday. 4 misses in the prone. He needs to get through this first phase unscathed, the 31-year-old. So Horn of Germany wearing 3. Jacquelin of France leading the way. Just behind him is Finland's Tero Sapala. So he's gone well, and he could be one of the first to settle on the firing point. In fact, Lapshin will be. There's Lapshin, number 25. He's going to be on the mat some 5-6 seconds before Emilien Jacquelin. So Lapshin trying to make a little bit of a name for himself. He keeps the pace high. We saw this in the women's race, on the final leg of the women's race. It did not pay off. France dropped from first down into third, just pushing the pace a little bit too hard, and the new layout of the track here, because of the snow conditions, means you get much less time to recover. So Lapshin goes for lane 25. Jacquelin heading all the way up to lane 2. Norway will be in 1, Germany 3, Italy 4, and Russia 5. Well, there's the first shot. Sounded like a miss from Lapshin. Number 3 goes down. What a bid for glory. And must apologise, I can't see the Korean target, and because they're number 25, their flag doesn't even get on the caption. Brilliant shooting from Norway. That's very good. Ukraine likewise, and Finland. Good effort from Sapala, because he skied hard on that first leg. So Norway find themselves out in front. Familiar position for them this season. 3 misses from Germany. Oh my goodness, exactly what happened in the women's earlier on today. They lost ground early on, found themselves over a minute behind at the halfway stage, and never ever got it back. Penalty loop for Bulgaria. Germany have 1 round. The last to leave the mat. At least the target goes down, and it's a pretty half-hearted cheer from the crowd. Normally, everyone would be off the seats when the final target falls, but they are not happy with what they've just seen. Philip Horn, last to exit, 38 seconds given away. Astonishing. A team that used to win at least every other relay, if not more than that. But their run of success really came to an end around 2006. They were, of course, the Olympic champions in 2006, and then Mickey Grice retired early, and everything seemed to fall apart. Having had the famous 4, the Fischers, the Lux, the Rico Grosses, the Sendels, it was a turning point, and I think many nations learning from Germany's mistake. You have to keep giving the youngsters a race. So the first shoot completed. Norway ahead of Finland, Ukraine in 3. Well, Team 21, which is Romania, have had a great start. George Buta got himself up into the top 5. Where's he dropped down into 7. He came out of the range in 4th position. Schlesinger of the Czech Republic in 10, missed 1. The top 6 teams, top 5 teams shooting clear, but there were 6 who went clear because Dombrovski actually cleared all 5, but wasn't very fast with his drill, so he found himself 20 behind. 22, Edgar Mieser, all over the place in terms of his body. That's a nervy looking corner from Birkeland in the front. Jacquelin trying to make up the ground given away. The French 10 seconds behind after the first shoot. Jacquelin has closed that very, very quickly. Well, Norway have gone for the same sort of pattern as they put in the women's. Their lowest placed athlete in terms of World Cup positions going first. And they know that if they get through this leg without too many mistakes, they've got a very good chance of pulling a top 3 finish out of the bag. Bjørntegard, Dale, the up-and-coming star, Christiansen on the anchor leg. But the rest of the field happy to let Birkeland lead at the moment. Very experienced. Ziggy Mazet watching on. Yeah, he'd love his lesser-known skiers to pull a victory out of the bag and make it 3 out of 3. And such a good opportunity for Johannes Dahle. He may have got a start anyway. Vettel Christiansen normally in the quartet, but Bjørntegard, Birkeland on the first 2 legs. And always nice for a coach to know that should you have to replace one of your big stars at a World Championships, nice to know that the replacement has had experience of racing in an atmosphere like this. Doherty through the picture. Austria's David Komatz. Long way back already. 18.4 seconds. Germany, who came out of the range down in 24th position, 38.6. Just saved by the fact that Krasimir Anev found himself on the penalty loop twice round for Anev. China have been going pretty well, and certainly big improvement from the Chinese in terms of their relays. Lapshin, incidentally, who we picked up coming into the range for the first time, that little burst, he's not going to try the same trick, I don't think. He's tucked in behind Jacquelin. Who was that replacing the pole? Not quite sure. Martin Fourcade looking calm. He takes the second leg for France, so he'll be getting ready. Just wants a little bit of pressure taken off his shoulders. Quentin Fillon-Maillet, who has been brilliant on the World Cup so far this season, he takes the anchor leg for France. But everyone very, very excited about the man leading the race at the moment, Emilien Jacquelin. Fourcade saying in the press conference that he hopes he wins regularly in the future, but just leave it a couple of years before he's retired, because I think he sees Jacquelin as a major threat to his domination in the sport, or certainly domination when Johannes Tingesbø isn't around, as is the case this week and next week and possibly the week after that. Excellent shooting from Birkeland. Just very, very conservative coming in, and away he goes. He's going to try and open up a little bit of a gap now. Finland with 3 misses. Ukraine already have a penalty loop. France and Jacquelin in a bit of bother. He's got a mechanical, but he's also missed. Oh, penalty loop for France. Well, all that confidence built in the sprint yesterday by finishing second will have evaporated in the last 35 seconds for Emilien Jacquelin. Not 1 penalty loop, but 2. That's an extra 300 metres. And Martin Fourcade may have thought he was going to get an easy run. Astonishing. Astonishing that a team of their quality can so often make mistakes in the relay. It's like Norway from a decade ago. The best team on paper, but seldom the first team across the line. Really, since Vancouver, things have changed back in 2010, and the last decade has been brilliant for the Norwegians. Silver medal at the Olympics this time round, beaten by their neighbours and great rival Sweden, and then of course a convincing win in the World Championships in Östersund last year. And it's Norway who lead the way after 2 shoots. 5 seconds for Norway ahead of Romania. They won't be too bothered about that. Italy in 3rd. They won't be concerned about the Italians, who put their best first. Smolski is up there in 4, and I'm just looking down. Sweden in 6, 10 seconds down. Well, so many of the minor teams. China currently in 7th, coming out of the range. There go China with Cheng. That is fantastic, and I think it'll be a proud moment for Ole-Einar Bjorndalen, who is now the Chinese coach. A role that he would only take if they got the support of the ski manufacturers. He knows more than anyone else that you don't win races unless you have a good pair of skis. Not a good pair, a brilliant pair of skis. And the whole team need to have them. Birkeland just took it wide. He does the same, uses the same route. And the Italians are going to start putting pressure on the Norwegians, I think. Bjørntegard is next for Norway. Italy with Thomas Bormolini, Dominic Vindish on the second leg. So we could see the Italians leading at halfway, but we said that in the women's race. And then, of course, Dorothea Viera gave herself a penalty loop on the standing shoot. Work rate is high. Absolutely maxed out. China still hanging on to 6, ahead of Canada. So many unlikely teams up in the top of the order. There's Sweden down in 7. Just behind them, Team 21, Romania, with George Buta, who's had a brilliant day out. Russia just inside the top 10 with Kalili. Here come Germany. Germany improving after the first shoot. They were down in 24th, but Philip Horn limiting it to 3 misses. He, of course, downed all 5 in the stand. So Germany up into the... Well, they're knocking on the door of the top 10. We'll see exactly where they are at the next split. 17:28 on the clock. The first leg in the last relay, which was in Austria, and Hogdilson was taking what, roughly 18:36. Different course, different distance, of course. Norway, Italy, Belarus, China. Well, if you'd put your money on that being the order after the first leg, you would have won yourself a handsome amount today. But things will change, there's no doubt about that. So race number 2 in Oberhof for this Saturday, and the women's relay earlier on was a stunner. And as the weather has improved, the racing has improved. Still at -1, which is great news in terms of the tracks and the fact that they might now survive till the end of tomorrow when we have 2 mass starts scheduled. And the wind, typical for Oberhof. What's not so typical is the fact that the fans have seen a little bit of sunshine, not solid sunshine, just a little bit. Let's confirm the standings in the men's relay. Norway leading the way, great shooting from them. Birkeland has done well, and it's essentially a B team for the Norwegians. They've left the 2 Bø brothers out of the race. Johannes Tinges is back home in Norway. Of course, concerned about his family with his wife due any moment now, and his older brother, after a solid performance yesterday, not his best, but he's going to try and rest up and hold on to his top 2 position in the World Cup standings in the mass start. The Birkeland handing over to Bjørntegard, Italy, with Bormolini handing over to Dominic Vindish. They will be confident about this second leg, and Belarus down in 3rd place. Belarus ranked 11th, in 3rd at the moment, and Sergei Bakarnikov on the leg. China get underway. Another good performance by the Chinese. Huge cheer for them coming down the home straight. And then a mass of teams in there. Canada, Russia are there as well. Czech Republic, Romania, and Germany, who are only 22.8. Germany were 38.6 behind after the first shoot. So Philip Horn has certainly got something that he can celebrate, but he'll just be furious with himself for missing 3 in the pro. Martin Fourcade, he wasn't expecting this, was he? Not with Emilien Jacquelin on the first leg. France dropping down to 22nd after the second shoot, and they've done 2 penalty loops already. Strong skiing from the Chinese in 4th place. I was just about to say, time for a gear change. They've done that now. Scott Gow and Christian Gow will be on the last leg for Canada. They're wearing 6. Germany, you'll recognise, that of course is Johannes Kern, who's 12th in the World Cup standings. In terms of their athletes involved in the race, Kern at 12, Pfeiffer 15, and their anchor leg Doll 11th in the World Cup standings. Compare that to the French, who have 3, 4, 6 and 7. Astonishing strength on paper, but the French have a massive amount of work to do. They are 1 minute 16 behind at the first exchange, but they do have yesterday's winner on course now, Martin Fourcade. So we'll do our best to track his progress as we work our way round this second leg. And then Simon Dessure and Quentin Fillon-Maillet. I will just bet myself a fiver that France will finish on the podium here today, despite the fact that they're a minute and a half behind, and almost, what's that? They're about 500 metres. The margin currently at 116, so things are starting to improve. Is this our first faller for the day? Italy getting perilously close. You don't want to take out the lamppost, and I must say that looks a little bit meagre now. That doesn't look too happy. Well, he's could do with another pole. If he hasn't broken a pole with that fall, he's been very lucky. Lost a Magus. When it goes wrong, it goes so wrong. And that's a real shame for the Italians. Then their best skier, Dominic Vindish, he'll be embarrassed when he has a look at the replay of that. And Lukas Hoffer, no doubt, with his feet up, deciding not to race today, will be part embarrassed and part amused by what he has just seen. Johannes Kern trying his best to close the gap down on the leaders. Biggest surprise so far, well, I think really Belarus have been absolutely brilliant. Smolsky, Bakarnikov. Days of the team event when they all used to ski together. The Belarus team were very, very good. Here's Vindish. I thought for a moment that he'd injured himself, but he's still skiing okay. Now being challenged by Belarus. China have improved their lot by 1 with the fall of Dominic Vindish, and Vindish losing so many places. That really was a little bit unlucky for them. Well, the top 10 teams only separated by 30 seconds, and you never give up hope if you're within a minute of the leaders. You never quite know what's going to happen at the front of the field. Bjørntegard looking pretty solid. He had a good run yesterday. Now let's have a look at Dominic Vindish's mistake. Wow. Well, he may be skiing all right, but he's going to have a very, very big bruise on that right thigh. But thank goodness he didn't hit the lamppost. That would have been a very different story. And actually, I wouldn't be surprised if they double up on the protection of that lamppost by the time we see the mass start tomorrow, because it's not going to be any slower. It's due to get cold again tonight. The tracks will harden up again. And certainly for the mass starts, it is going to be quick. Not sure Bjørntegard or Belarus's Biathlon know anything about that. Now is the time, just a second. Bjørntegard looks very smooth, very relaxed. The pulse rate probably still at around 190, but he'll be hoping to bring it down to a more manageable level before he takes his place on the firing point. He'll be going for lane number 1. Can't see Biathlon trying to nip in front of the Norwegians at this stage of the game. Keep an eye on the telltale flags on the right-hand side of the screen, just as they were for zeroing, rowing left to right. Maze giving warning to his team just to keep an eye on the wind, because he was concerned about the strength while they were zeroing. Good solid position for Biathlon. Relaxed, but still. Is he going to make it 4 out of 4 or 5 out of 5? He does. That is how to hold on to or to gain the lead, because of course he's been following Norway around that last lap. So 2 spare rounds for Norway, and we usually estimate around 16 seconds. So we'll look at the margin between Belarus and Norway to get a really good idea of the cost of a spare round. Russia and Germany make up ground. Good shooting from Germany. Remember, they were down in 23rd position after the first shoot, and they've got themselves all the way up into 4th. That is a phenomenal recovery. And at the first exchange, they were down in 9th. They haven't gained any time as such, but they have gained positions. That will get the crowd interested again. That's what we want. Russia in 3 with Goranichev. Scott Gower, Canada, top 10. So often the goal for many of the lesser teams. Italy, a disaster with Vindish. Now, there's every chance he's done some damage to the sights with that fall. But he gets 3 of the 5 so far. 1 more round, 2 targets. It's not like bowls. He's got no chance. But he gets 4 out of 5, so limits the damage, but disappointing, because it was going so well for the Italians, just as it was in the women. So this isn't a day they'll remember for too long. Switzerland exit in 16th place. The Swiss women outstanding until they got to the latter part of the third leg. So Belarus leading, Norway 2, Russia in 3, Germany 4, Czech Republic 5.
Jetzt geht Dominik Windisch auf seine letzte Schleife. Wird dann übergeben an Saverio Zini. Aber wir schauen, und er hat das angekündigt, auf die Zwischenzeit am Birks. Und jetzt habe ich recht, Johannes Kühn ist Dritter.
Belarus leading the way. They won't know too much about how big that lead is. Roughly 13 seconds over Norway. Russia with Loginov out of the team today, so having to rely on Goranichev, Eliseev and Latipov. So Sergei Bakharnikov, he's done exceptionally well, handing over to Raman Yaliot now, and then Lebastow on the last leg. Coming to the end of leg 2, almost at the halfway stage. 15 kilometers skied, 15 more still to go, and of course 4 shoots remaining in this race. I'm getting ahead of myself. Of course, we're waiting for the stand shoot on the second leg. It's been a long day, but it's been a very, very exciting one. We've had some brilliant racing in the women's relay. I was just trying to work out when Belarus last won a relay. Of course, if we go to the Olympics, they got the women's relay out there with Daria Domracheva doing so well on that occasion. You certainly don't count your chickens at this stage with 2 legs still remaining and the crucial second shoot on this second leg. Austria starting to come back into it. Simoneda, he was down in 10th when we last saw him. He's moved up to 8th position, 46 behind, so he's lost time but gained places, which is often how it works. Leif Nordgren on course for USA, and a great recovery from Germany. From 23rd position, they're up into 4th, but still some 21 seconds off the race leaders, Belarus, who are now approaching the range. Have a look at that wall of fans on the left-hand side. When Germany take their place on the firing point, it's going to be very hard to focus on the job in hand. Now, what is Bakharnikov made of? He's certainly never been in this position in a World Cup relay before. Bjørntegard of Norway in second has been. Germany have now moved up in the third. Johannes Kern. It's going well. Arndt Piper ready to go on leg 3, a man who really made his name here back in 2012 when he got his first World Cup victory. So the crowd will certainly be impressed by what they've seen so far, but they will be half hoping that Bakharnikov throws a few shots wide. Zanko, the coach, watching on from the coach's area, the scope to his eye. How about that? How about that to put pressure on the rest of the field? So Norway have to try and match it. Germany with Johannes Kern. That's solid from the Norwegians. Bjørntegard will be very, very happy with that. He's got an 83. What does that push it up? Somewhere close to 84% hit rate in the stand so far this year. Another couple of misses from Germany. And that's what happens when you chase hard. 3 rounds, 3 targets to hit. Another penalty loop. We saw penalty loops for the Germans in the women's race. Is it going to be the same story in the men's? 2 and 2 now for Kern. The Czech Republic are away, and it's a penalty loop, and the crowd suddenly goes silent. Hardly a murmur when the 4th target goes down. Here's Martin Fourcade. Remember, he was at 118. We will get a readout on him now. I'm not sure he's closed that much time, to be honest. A minute has just about come and gone. Belarus still leading, 14 clear of Norway. Out goes Martin Fourcade, so he has gained 16 seconds so far in the first 5 kilometres. If he can ski on the last lap like he did yesterday in the sprint, then he might claw that margin back to what, something around 50 seconds. Or will he save himself? Will he save himself for the mass start tomorrow? Interesting to hear him say that yesterday's victory felt as good as his first victory of the season up in Östersund, where he was up against everyone. But he was quite happy to admit that the absence of Johannes Tingesbø really makes a different dynamic in the race. And for him personally, he said, well, the difference is I don't have to ski 100% on the first couple of laps, and he can save something for later on. That is getting treacherously fast, but all credit to Spurkanikov. He stayed low, stayed in the tuck, no sign of a snowplow. Pretty scrappy step turn out of the right-hand corner, and he will have lost a few Ks an hour for this long, gradual descent. Czech Republic and Russia tied in a battle. I may have blinked and missed it, but I didn't see Bjørntegard go through. Bjørntegard for Norway was lying in 2nd place. Goranichev hot on the heels of Michael Křečmar, who's had a good season actually. He's just outside the top 20 in the World Cup standings, Křečmar. Well, there's Bjørntegard. And he's closed the gap significantly. From 14 seconds, it's down to about 14 meters. And he may well be on the heels of the Belarus team by the time they come into the stadium for the 2nd exchange. This time it is approaching the halfway stage of this men's 4x7.5 relay. Well, where's your money at this stage? I'll give you the lineup. Jeliot now and Labastow for Belarus, up against Norway's Johannes Dahle and Vetle Sjåstad Christiansen, both of whom are in pretty good shape, to be honest. Christiansen finishing in the top 10 yesterday, and Dahle taking 9th place. Well, there's another faller. Is that the Czech Republic going down? Sure it was. But what's a course without a few testing downhills? I don't think they need to be too concerned, as long as it's safe when you come off the track. And that's what's difficult when there's very, very little or no natural snow around. The landing can be pretty hard. Fourcade, last time we saw him at 102. Oh, he is definitely on the hunt, and credit to him for digging so deep. Back up into 5th position. So 5 seconds gained, and Kern of Germany trying to make up for his mistakes on the prone shoot at 59. Germany were 21 behind after shoot number 3, and then found themselves 113 behind after the stand shoot. So this may well be the last we see of the Belarus team. I hope not. I hope Jaliok now can hang on in there and match Johannes Dahle of Norway, who is just heading out. Good leg from Bjørntegard, backing up the good work that Birkeland did on leg 1. So Norway unbeaten so far this season, still hold on to that lead. Czech Republic out skiing Russia on the way into the exchange. Goranichev, gritted teeth, but not able to accelerate. And Krishmar with another stunning run. He might spring a surprise. Keep an eye on him later in the season. And there's talk of the World Cup going to Novo Mesto. Or Oslo instead of Pachuca, where they have no snow at all at the moment. It looked as though it was going to be such a good winter. Early snow in November, good conditions for the first 3 rounds of the World Cup. And just when you're starting to relax, the temperatures rise to levels we haven't seen before. Austria out in 13th, Simoneda fading, started well, first lap was good. Felix Leitner now, and then Julian Eberhardt. So the Austrians have the speed. 1 minute and 5. Well, podium still possible. Well, things have sorted themselves out since the first exchange, and Norway not in control, but where they want to be, in the lead. Russia and the Czech Republic locked in battle. It's been a good race for them so far. Foucault managed to hand over in 51 seconds, so he gained, what, 11, 12 seconds on his leg. Arndt Pfeiffer, hugely popular now. If he downs 5 in the prone, that will put a bit of spirit back into the spectators' stands. So, with one Johannes out, another comes in. Johannes Dahle, who's getting more and more popular with the selectors. He's got a lot of promise. Only 22. Dahle getting perilously close to the line that Vindish of Italy took, and ultimately went out and hit that big advertising hoarding, which they've consequently moved. Just needs a little more padding there because it is quick. The ideal line, start wide, cut the corner tight, but you know, 1 or 2 of them will may have sensed that there's a little bit of ice on the inside, so not wanting to go anywhere near that. And it's a difficult decision at speeds in excess of 50 kilometers an hour. You've got to remember that these skis have no metal edge. It's all about P-Tex. They're only about 4.5 centimeters wide, attached solely to the boot by a little clip at the front of the boot. Having said that, the control compared to 2 decades ago is 1,000% better. The carbon boots. People often ask, what's the one bit of kit that you'd spend your money on? Well, a nice set of poles certainly feels good, but a good set of boots allows you to transmit all the power from the legs into the ski, and ultimately that is what counts. Germany and France, 2 teams that should be competing for a podium position. Still at a minute. Well, Pfeiffer's fans are out in big numbers. He's brought this stadium to its feet on many an occasion, Arndt Pfeiffer. And at the moment, a minute down, finding themselves in a similar situation to the women's team earlier on. Pfeiffer with 10 wins to his name and a number of world titles as well. And of course, the sprint Olympic title from Pyeongchang. Shoot number 5 of 8. And with each shoot from now, the pressure rises. This should just be a formality for the race leaders. Norway unable to escape from Belarus so far. And if Belarus keep out shooting the Norwegians, even if it's only by 1 spare round a time, they could well be in for a sprint finish. They know that Norway do not have the world #1 on the anchor leg. This is where it all comes undone for Belarus. 2 out of 4 for them, 5 out of 5 for the Norwegians. They're away. They may never see them again. Russia will be disappointed to see Norway leaving as they take their place on the firing point. Elisiev, 26-year-old from Zelenograd, just preparing in lane 3. On his far side are the Czech Republic with Jakub Strecki. 3 spare rounds. Oh my goodness, look how much time has been given away. They settled on the mat together, and those 3 spare rounds costing 26 seconds. So it is just about as we predict, around that 8-second mark for each spare. Germany losing a position to France, and Pfeiffer thought that was down. Now that was very, very poor drills. Broken his position. He must have broken the position before he pulled the trigger. In a hurry to get away. This time it does fall, but 2 spare rounds plus a mistake, and more time given away by Germany, who were 51 behind last time we saw them. That grows to 1:13. Their task is getting harder and harder as the race goes on. They've got to turn it around on the next shoot. Shoot number 6. If Pfeiffer doesn't clear 5 quickly, then I cannot see Germany getting back to the podium positions. They've got Benedikt Doll on the last leg, sprint world champion from 2017. He's very, very quick. And of course, he's one of only 3 men to have won a race this year. Fourcade has 2. Doll has 1, and Johannes Tingesbø has all the rest. And we've had 8 races. That is how dominant he's been. These are the rounds of Dale. All a little low left. That one goes out to the right, just as I said. Where's the last one? That's good. So Norway on their own for the first time. Belarus somehow have held on to second place, but they've dropped to 46 seconds. The Czech Republic have dropped from, they've stayed in third, but they've gone from 29 behind to 43. Russia have gone from 34 behind to 55. So Norway gaining a full 20 seconds out of all the chasers on the range alone. Great shooting from Johannes Dale. I sense another fall. He's running out of snow. Oh, great recovery. Powerful looking skier. That sink down onto the left leg and the long drive off that left leg again. Seamless transitions. But if Norway do manage to win this one, it will mean that no other team has stepped on the top of the podium other than the Norwegians. They've won all 3 women's. Another fine performance from them this morning, particularly from Royseland and Eckhoff, the final 2 legs. And actually Sulumdal, who is the lowest ranked skier in that team. A commendable performance from her on the first leg. The men, well, nothing really has gone wrong so far. Birkeland was solid, Bjørntegard was brilliant. Johannes Dale hasn't put a foot wrong so far. Brilliant prone shoot from him, and he'll be in to shoot in the standing position fairly shortly, and he's got an 81% record. Best we've seen from Belarus for a while. So far this season, their record, they were 14th in Östersund at the start of the season, improved to 7th when they went to Hochfilzen. That's a good day for the Czech Republic as well. Let's hope that one of those teams in second and third can hang on to a podium finish, but the big guns are coming. Russia, France, Germany, all in quick succession. Russia only 11 seconds off the Czechs. France, who are skiing well. What's Simon Desio managed to do? He's got it back to 108. At the second exchange, they were 51. And then after the last shoot, 58. So actually, Simon Desio not quite as quick. In fact, Martin Fourcade alluding to that in his press conference after his success yesterday in the sprint. And just saying he was, interested to see that those athletes who were so fast at the start of the season have lost some of that speed, and that allowed him to dominate yesterday. And I'm assuming he was referring to his own teammates without actually mentioning their names, because the French were easily the quickest in the first 2 rounds of the World Cup. So you notice that the shades come off the eyes a good 45 seconds before the shoot, just to allow the eyes to adapt. Good discipline from Dale. He's a bear of a man. Thicker built than many of the biathletes. Sort of average size, or if you go to a major championships or even a World Cup, I think you'd be surprised that most of them come in around 5'9", 5'10", weighing 68 to 72 kilos, somewhere around there. Generally, a game for the lightweight man. Lots of movement. So, 3 and 2 required. 26-second margin. An opportunity now for Belarus to get a taste of the lead again. Yaliot now, has he got it in him to shoot clear? Well, there's the first penalty loop for the race leaders. And the rest of the teams will pick up on this pretty quickly. 2 penalty loops. Norway definitely are in trouble. They limit it to 1. Belarus missing their first target and their third. That means their opportunity unlikely to come their way. So in the same position as Norway, 3 and 2. Russia with Alisiev, who has a 91% hit rate in the stand. That's a very good record at this stage of the season. And he gets the first one down, throws the second one wide. And the third. Now France's chance to make an impression and get themselves into the top 3. Germany with Pfeiffer. Oh. This is pressure. We saw exactly the same in the women's. From a really good start in terms of shooting standard for the first half, and then things started to crumble. The wind is nothing really to trouble the athletes of this quality. France are away. At the last shoot, they were 58 behind, but we had seen that Dessieux was over a minute. He's closed that. He's chopped it in half. Well, that is brilliant. Norway still lead despite a penalty loop. The Belarus team in second place still, despite the fact that they've missed. But the gap between the leaders and the top 5 is getting smaller and smaller. Bauer just settling. Switzerland with Serafin Wiesner. 1 shot and 1 target remaining. Romania go clear, a team that were up in the top 5 in the early stages of this race. They had a very good start. The Austrians, 1 more, but they throw it wide, so they've got 2 rounds, 1 target. Should be able to clear that without too much trouble. Felix Leitner is up to that sort of a mark. There goes Wiesner at 134. It's not easy out front. It is not easy out front, and it's just as painful for the teammates. Both Birkeland and Bjørntegard were watching on. Christiansen is the man who has the work to do, but I think they got out of jail there, Norway. A penalty loop, having come into the range, 20, what was it? That was nowhere near 20 seconds clear. Just a few seconds clear of Belarus. But they do a penalty loop and they come out 23 clear. Arndt Pfeiffer, he knows these tracks. Just slide the first half of the turn, and then as soon as you're confident that you can get the grip on the skis, start those little steps. That's Messi from France and Simon Dessieux. Pfeiffer must have thought he was going to get an opportunity, and actually Pfeiffer's come out of that corner a whole lot faster than Dessieux, so that gap could be closed by the time they start the next climb. Which way is this one going to go? Dale, he needs to up the ante after a penalty loop. He won't be happy with his performance. And Vettler, Sjostad, Christiansen, there he is. Just securing that arm cuff. You'll see them clip into that in the prone position. It was a season when 1 or 2 athletes, Bjørndalen tried it for a while, where they use the cuff for the standing position as well. It's always worth trying. Dale goes very wide, looking for some firm snow. And actually, the wider you go, the less steep the initial part of that climb. And it's a long, long climb. So that's a good move for 2 reasons from Dale there. Now, 23.5 was our last reading. Belarus are being chased hard. Germany move up into the top three for the first time in today's race. Arndt Pfeiffer is really pushing hard now, and he loves racing here. You always see the best from Pfeiffer in Oberhof. Nothing Simon Desieux can do about it, and Porshnev of Russia doesn't seem to have too much fight left in his legs. But this is the sort of form that we see from Pfeiffer when he's capable of winning World Cups. Great bit of acceleration. He's taken the Belarus team with him. Two shoots remaining, and just over 800 meters, 8 kilometers still to be skied. Pfeiffer so light on his feet, and the upper body very much under control. Dale on his limit, coming in to hand over to Christiansen. Difficult job for Christiansen, but he's done it before. Didn't actually race in the last relay in Hogfilsen. So a real opportunity for him. And the relay is all about being consistent. I think this is the first relay for Christiansen this year, courtesy of the two Bird brothers stepping aside. Pfeiffer, after that burst up the hill, doesn't really gain any advantage over Belarus, who head out still in the top three. France in four, but remember that at one stage they were over 1:10 behind, so 35 seconds seems like a very bridgeable gap indeed. Russia in fifth position, and their last leg runner today, Eduard Latipov, only 58th in the World Cup standings. They might struggle. Bulgaria with Gerdzikov on the third leg. Norway already onto their ankle leg runner, so they'll be pulled out of the race before the end. Christiansen with a little bit of breathing space after that last exchange. Seconds. In terms of mistakes, he can afford 3 misses. Certainly should come in at around 24-25 seconds, but Benedikt Dull is on the charge. Well, we haven't seen a weakness in the Belarus team so far. Nikita Labastow is looking fantastic, not having too much trouble staying with Benedikt Dull. And then, of course, Phil Maillet for France, one of the fastest on the tour this year, and 7th in the World Cup rankings at the moment. Phil Maillet, some solid results in Le Grand Bonnard, a 3rd, a 2nd, a 4th there. Only 19th in the sprint event here in Oberhof. So he could do with a good result just to boost his morale. Well, I wonder where your money is at the moment. We're on the final leg of the men's 4x7.5. Benedikt Dull, very nifty footwork to round that left-hander. Now onto the right-hand turn. Got to keep pushing that inside arm forward. Phil Maillet knows exactly how to do it. The French do tend to be one of the best teams when it comes to downhill technique. And certainly I've always felt that the downhills should be testing. Don't need to be dangerous, but they should be testing. Those who are good should gain an advantage, just like those who are good on the uphills certainly gain an advantage. What is it? 80% of the race time is spent climbing the hills in a cross-country race. It will be similar here, but of course, with the stops for the shooting, that slightly skews the percentages. Well, this is like a sprint for the line. They've not even got to the first shoot yet. Lebasta finally running out of gas. He has pushed it 100% so far. Coming up. Towards the first shoot on this last leg. 2 kilometers completed already. Goal now at 33. Now Germany were 31, so Christiansen actually setting a very stiff pace. France have gained a couple of seconds, 35 down to 33, and Belarus have gone from 31 to 41, so they are now rapidly losing touch. But if they can hit the targets, and you have to remember that Germany and France have skied hard on this loop. Doll and Filmayer, certainly 2 of the fastest men on the tour. Percentage point or so below Johannes Tingesbø, but on their day, perfectly capable of matching the Norwegian. Well, this is a big test for Christiansen. Played a part in the mixed relay at the World Championships, and in fact in the men's relay at the World Championships, and took golds on both occasions. Well, he has definitely eased up dramatically, and it would certainly be interesting to see whether the 2 chasers, France and Germany, have managed to close coming into the shoot. Christensen through the timing wand at 1:05.36. Third shot a little bit better. That was nice and central. Little delay, goes left. Well, comfortably inside the ring. Actually, from that shot, it looked a little closer than it was. So Christiansen, no mistakes. He's taking this one all the way down to the final shoot. He has the advantage he wanted. 33 seconds coming in. He could be closer to 40. France and Germany have to focus. That's good from Germany. That's very, very good from Germany. And France aren't going to let them get away easily. So those 2 teams stay together. Russia versus Belarus for 4th and 5th at the moment. And if they stay there, there is no knowing if one of those leading 3 will make mistakes. They were all clean in the prone. Seldom do they clear the last 5 in the stand position. Well, this is just the time they didn't want to be making mistakes. Pressure on. Russia's Latipov downs it. Missed 1 in the first 5, which is exactly what happened to him in the sprint yesterday. Shot 1-1 and actually ended up down in 38th position. So just scraping inside the barrier for the World Cup points. Picked up 3 points for his efforts. That's not a bad group from Benedikt Doll. Where's the last one going? Over to the right. 4 out of 5, very much on that right ring. Pushed the 3rd shot into the centre, but that is what the crowd wanted to see. They've had podiums in both the sprints. Denise Herrmann was superb in the women's sprint on Thursday, her best result of the season so far. And then Johannes Kern with a really good third place in the men's sprint, despite the fact that he missed a shot on the stand position. This is quite an even match. Benedict Doll versus Quentin Fillon-Maillet. Doll at 29, lying 11th in the World Cup standings. Fillon-Maillet is 7th. The event that this is closest to is the sprint, and Fillon-Maillet in 11th in the World Cup standings. Benedict Doll down in 12th. Nicely negotiated, and he's certainly gained a second or two. Fillon-Maillet digs deep. Very easy just to settle down into the speed position after you've come around the corner, but if you can just generate another 1/10 of a kilometre an hour, that can make all the difference. Fillon-Maillet desperately trying to get into the slipstream of Benedict Doll. He wants to settle down behind him. That's good work. Now I think he'll ease up on the pace. Can't see him going through at this stage. Justine Brézard made a bid for glory in the women's relay with, what was it, about 600 metres to go before the final shoot. Well, this man looks very, very cool at the moment. Christiansen, though, will be as aware as anyone else that his standing shooting has not really been up to standard this year. He missed 2 in the sprint yesterday in the stand, and he's only hit 76% of his standing shots so far this year. Fillon-Maillet 10% better on 86, Benedict Doll on 78. Now, what's the margin? 30 seconds when they came out of the range last time. It's grown a fraction. It's grown a fraction, which is surprising because Christensen doesn't look as though he's pushing the pace, but he is deceptively quick. He's very, very well balanced on the skis. He makes it look easy. So many of the world's best sportsmen make their pursuit look so, so easy. And that's why we all think we can do it until we get out there. Now, will they have something to shout about? A win for Germany, and we will certainly see a full house tomorrow for the mass starts. I think we're likely to see a full house anyway, especially if the sunshine and the rain, sunshine stays and the rain goes. Well, they definitely have settled the pace a little, and it might be a sign that they've resigned themselves to the fact that they're fighting for 2 and 3, not number 1. But with only 30 seconds, Dale can't really afford more than 2 misses. If he misses 3, but downs all 5 targets, then it's highly likely we're going to have a race on our hands. But when you see how relaxed Christiansen is compared to both Doll and Fillon-Maillet, who've been going hammer and tongs on this last lap, he's had a long, comfortable ski into the shoot. The phlegm, an indication that despite that, he has been working at maximum. Dale struggled, found himself on the penalty loop. Will it be the same for Christensen? Good reflexes. There's a lot of movement there. Now the nerves start to jangle. And Dole and Fiolmaillet have nothing to lose. The gap between third and fourth is currently at 50 seconds. So we could see Norway on the penalty loop again. Germany will get excited. It is a penalty loop for the race leaders. France and Germany have yet to miss. Just as I say that, one goes wide. It's not over. It is far from over. This is a chance for Fiolmaillet. Norway entering the penalty loop now. It's going to be 25 seconds, and Fiolmaillet will lead the way onto the final lap of 2.5 kilometers. Christensen looks so easy. Oh, Benedikt Dole, his chance of second is about to go. So the gap between 1 and 2, roughly 45 meters. Germany on the penalty loop, can you believe it? Their chance was there. Oh, you just feel for the crowd. They so desperately want a home win. Looks like a flourishing finish from the Russians, doesn't quite pull it off. Ladipov would have made a name for himself if he'd downed that last one, but in terms of respectability, they have to beat Belarus, and they're going to do that. They're away. 3 more targets for Belarus, who've put up a fight all the way through. Smolsky, Bagarnikov, Yeliot now, and Labastau. So 48 seconds, 10 seconds to gain for the podium. I can't see Ladipov catching 10 seconds on Benedikt Dole. This is the race for 1 and 2. And Christensen, is he sensing he can do this? He's looking good. He's looking very good. Well, it's going to be a painful fight to the finish. There's no doubt about that. .6 between them out of the range. That is down to 1.8. And if Christensen can get in the slipstream of Fiolmaillet, he'll get that little bit of rest. What's it worth? 0.5% maybe on the flatter sections. Doesn't make a huge amount on the uphills because the speeds are so much slower. Dole, he's giving it everything. He does not want to be caught by Russia. Latipov was 10 seconds behind, remember, 800 meters ago, and he's not managed to close that. He's still at 10 seconds exactly. Now, this is the battle for the win. Off comes the neck warmer. It's strange how a little bit of fresh air can sharpen things up. Christensen's going early. He's going very, very early, but Fiolmaillet is a fighter. He's a fighter. You don't see these two involved in a sprint very often. We are going to today, surely. Same time, same technique. Fiolmaillet will be benefiting on this occasion. Did Christensen go too early? We will find out over the next 2 minutes or so. Christensen decides to rest. Fiolmaillet goes again, his turn to lead. Badieu. He looks very, very nervous indeed. The French really should have wrapped this one up a long time ago. It all went wrong on the first lap. Emilien Jacquelin had an absolute nightmare. France finding themselves a long, long way off the pace. Fourcade closed the gap a little. He gained 12, 13 seconds or so. Simon Dessieux was solid, but Fiolmaillet has been absolutely superb on this final leg. But he has a job to finish here. Vettler, Sjostad, Christensen stands in the way between him and a victory. Well, there's racing, and this is just what they want to see. It's all very well winning a race, but winning a good race is so much more rewarding, and this is going to be of the highest quality. 7 kilometers completed, 7.5 the distance of each leg, so just under 500 meters to go, and it's not going to take them much more than a minute. Ziggy Mazet, who of course is from France, but he wants the Norwegians to win this one. That's where his bonus is going to come from. It's coming down to a sprint. Who has played the better game? You have to remember that Christiansen closed 6.5 seconds on Fiolmaillet at the start of this lap. And this course in particular, if you go hard out of the range, you pay a price in the closing stages. Well, there's a 4-5 metre gap that Fiolmaillet might take advantage of up round this corner, and then they'll be able to see the finish. It's a very, very early start to the sprint, if that's what it is from Fiolmaillet. Keeps the skate 2 going. It's all about power and balance now. The timing has to be perfect. The crowd, well, they're disappointed that it's not the Germans involved in this sprint. Here they are. They're secure in 3rd place. They're a long, long way clear of Russia now. Latipov has faded in the closing stages. Another look from Fiolmaillet. Looks over his shoulder, and he missed that initial move from the Norwegians. And Christiansen with a slight advantage. Nothing Fiolmaillet can do about raising the tempo. And all credit to Christiansen, because he did an extra penalty loop. He caught 6 seconds on the French. But you can put that down to the fact that Fiolmaillet had to work so hard in the early stages of this leg to get back into contention. So the Norwegians keep their unbeaten record in the men's relay going, just as they have done in the women's relay. But that was a fight to the death, and Fiolmaillet getting up in the 2nd place. And France will have a look at that. They know it all went wrong. They know they made life hard for themselves on that first leg with Emilien Jacquelin. But he's had a good week, nonetheless, having finished 2nd in the sprint yesterday. Here come Germany. Again, 3 misses on the very first shoot. Doesn't help, does it? Chasing the game. And the chasers seldom win in this game. They got close today. 4.4 seconds the margin. Still respectable enough for a team that did 2 penalty loops. Can you believe the top 3 teams all doing 2 penalty loops? Only in Oberhof does that happen.
Let's go Norway in the middle, please.
Best shooting team on the day, Romania. They haven't finished yet, but they are in 11th position at the moment, under a little bit of pressure from the Canadians and the Estonians and the Swedes and the Americans. Chinese a bit further back, but certainly 3 or 4 teams lined up behind Romania to challenge them for a top 11 slot. They might just get in the top 10, so a big race for the top 10. But in your picture, the top 2. Again, Norway and France, the 2 best nations this year so far by a fair distance. Birkeland on the right of your picture, who took the first leg. Bjørntegard took leg number 2. Then, of course, it was Johannes Dahle who had a bit of a nightmare on the standing shoot, found himself on the penalty loop, but somehow still managed to stay 25 seconds clear of all the other teams. Christiansen, another man who did a penalty, but he survived the scare and put in a very, very impressive final lap to go from 2nd up into 1st position. Well done to Slovenia. They've fought hard on this last lap to get themselves up into 6th. Belarus, who were in the top 3 for much of the race, dropping down to 5, but they would have settled for that prior to the start of today. And Switzerland, not quite as good as their women were this morning, down in 7th, 2:56 behind, but they didn't incur a penalty loop, but they did use 19 spares. Czech Republic. Schlesinger Křežmar, who was brilliant, really good. Keep an eye out for him in the mass start tomorrow. I'm assuming he gets a mass start. He's 22 in the World Cup standing, so I think he should. Strecky and Morovec on that Czech team. 8th position. Austria 9, a team that have won relays before. Sweden, of course, the Olympic champions, down in 11th, ahead of the USA, 3:35 behind. USA today represented by Doherty and Norgren on the first two, and then Skoma and Jake Brown on the anchor leg for them. And the Romanians, who I mentioned, were on the verge of getting a top 10 for the first time. In the end, out-skied on that last 2.5K and finishing down in 15th place. But that's still a good run for them. They're ranked 21, they're 6 places higher than that, and the points really do matter. China, right up there in the early stages, found themselves in the top 3 at one stage. But Cheng Fangming, who took the first leg, is the fastest of their skiers. They are slowly getting better and better and better. Ranked 23, they finished 16. I think Uliana Bjorndalen will be pretty happy with that. He's not expecting miracles this year. Really, his employment is all about the next Winter Games. Bit of a shaky performance by Christiansen, hence the smiles on the faces of the team. He survived by the skin of his teeth, but brilliantly tactical. Made contact pretty early on the final lap with Fillon Maillet, tested him out on the climb, decided he wasn't going to shake him out that way, and then allowed the Frenchman to do the work up into the stadium. Timed his sprint to perfection. Yeah, the sprint here in Oberhof, you cannot go the second you see the finish line. That's too early. But if you leave it too late, the opponent will believe he can win. He'll keep fighting. Christiansen went just in time to depress Fillon Maillet. It was a quick burst, opened up a gap of a metre or so, and the Frenchman just couldn't find the reserves to up the tempo and accelerate into the finish. Sprint finish, not something that biathletes train too often. But if the relay's going on as being as close as they've been today, we might find it's a regular part of the training. Finland 19, disappointing. No longer a world force. This team certainly are. Norway, they won in Östersund, they won in Hogfossen, they've won here in Oberhof to make it 3 out of 3 in the men's relay for this season. Team 22 are Latvia. Now we should have the final standings pretty soon here in terms of the finishing positions. Norway, France and Germany, the leading 3. Strange how the cream always float to the top in the end in an event like this, but the minor teams certainly made it exciting with some excellent opening legs. Those teams that put their best first. Here come Italy. All went wrong with Dominic Vindish on the second leg, skiing off the course. I think he must have disturbed the sight because he couldn't hit anything when he came in for the prone shoot. Ski jumping from Val di Fiemme. Venue used a number of times for the World Championships. Hopefully they'll get a few spectators, but it won't be anything like the Four Hills over the New Year period. But should be some good jumping there, and David Goldstrom on hand to cover that event. Well, that's all from Oberhof. We'll be back tomorrow with the mass starts, and as today, the women going first. Well, great scenes and very, very good racing indeed here in Oberhof today. The fans deserved it after 2 pretty miserable days. The women's mass start, incidentally, 11:45 tomorrow. Dorothea Vera trying to defend her lead in the World Cup standings from a mass of Norwegians who are closing the gap fast. And then the men's mass start at 1:30. Will Johannes Tingesbo, the absent Johannes Tingesbo, still be the leader? We'll find out this time tomorrow. We'll see you then.
Vetle, congratulations. What a fantastic last loop. Can you tell us about the last range and then the fight on the last loop?
Thank you very much. I think it was a bit difficult conditions. Even on lane 1, it's a bit hidden from the wind, but still it was a bit wind, so you could see I didn't miss the middle target, but I shot on the next one because it was blowing, and I take the next one. I was blowing into the next one, and then I started missing on the end, but I tried as best as I could. I tried to be not so slow to don't lose so much time, and I saw Quentin was just 5, 6, 7 in front of me out of the shooting. I thought he's so much better than me in the big stag, so I just tried to keep the distance, and then I can try to catch him, but I caught him pretty early, and from then it was a fun game between us. It really was.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Ist das nicht der Wahnsinn? Und dann Benedikt Doll, erstes Schießen, alle 5 Scheiben getroffen und zweites Schießen, eine Strafrunde. Und wir schaffen den 3. Platz mit so einem verrückten Rennen. Wahnsinn! 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 Diese Staffel hat uns wieder gezeigt, warum wir diesen Sport so lieben. Sag niemals nie und gib nie irgendwelche Tipps ab. Jetzt.
BMW IBU Biathlon Weltcup Oberhof 2020. Das ist die Siegerpräsentation in der Staffel der Herren. Vorgenommen vom Vizepräsidenten der IBU, Herrn Dr. James Calabré, und dem Ministerpräsidenten des Freistaats Thüringen, Herrn Bodo Ramelow. Wir gratulieren zum 3. Rang der Mannschaft aus Deutschland. Martin Foucault, Simon Détieux, Quentin Fillon-Maillet. Johannes Dahle, Winter Sjøstad Christiansen. Unser Glückwunsch noch einmal an die drei stärksten Teams. Norway,